Thank you very much, Courtney. Our Live Eye today has Drew Kozub on location at Super Lube on Regent, getting your vehicle ready for spring. And even though he looks like he knows what he's talking about, and you got an expert to help you out, right, Bill?
Thank you very much, Jeremy. That's right. I found half the battle is to look the part and then stand next to someone who knows what they're doing. And in just mere moments, I'll be introducing you to Bill Gardner. This guy knows cars better than most people know their own two hands. His resume is very impressive. 25 years with the TV show Motorin. For the last 14 years, he's been doing this cross Canada tour where he goes from city to city, educating people about cars. And the things that he knows, the length he's been doing this is just incredible. Started off with motorcycles. That was the first love. During wintertime, he would take motorcycles into his parents' basement, take them apart and put them back together. Eventually got his own car, and from there, just exploded.
That's an understanding, Mom and Dad, no question. But the questions here are already starting to pile up, Drew, including good oil versus the oil I usually get. Is there a difference?
You know what, Jeremy? That's an excellent question. We're going to get to that because this one is all about oil. So as I mentioned, the man of the hour, Bill Gardner, thanks so much for joining us today. Very excited. There's so much stuff to talk about, so I want to get into it right away. Yep. We were talking about oil as a lubricant, but oil serves so much more functions in your car than that we just don't realize.
Absolutely, Drew. That 4 or 5 liters, and there's a 1 liter bottle. This is 946 mil, just under a liter. So we've got 4 or 5 containers like this in the average engine, keeping that engine alive. Now this is a 5W30 full synthetic motor oil, and that happens to be the appropriate grade for this particular car. But there's other Ford cars that would take a 5W20, and this is a brand new Focus, beautiful little car, and the appropriate oil for this would be a 530. So, many new cars today actually call for a full synthetic motor oil. There's a lot of cars that have a 0W20 motor oil as their spec motor oil. New Toyotas and Honda cars, for example, use 0W20. Pretty much every hybrid car uses 0W20, and that is only available as a synthetic motor oil from everybody. So, you're into a synthetic motor oil change in those particular vehicles. Now, when you come in here to Super Lube, you can upgrade your regular car to a synthetic oil change for a small extra cost, and you get way more protection for your engine. So, going back to your point of what the motor oil does in the engine, other than lubricating, it cools, it cleans, it seals, it cushions, it emulsifies all the contaminants that combustion byproducts in the engine, holds them in suspension so they can get removed by the oil filter and then drained out when you bring your car in here to Super Lube.
Okay, so it sounds like oil is extremely important. Selecting the right one is very important. Just quickly, the 5W30 versus the 5W20. What is the 5W? What is the 30? What is the 20?
Yeah, these numbers are the viscosity index. So this refers to how the oil performs when it's cold. So the W actually stands for winter. Okay. So this pours or flows like a 5-weight oil in the winter, and it protects like a 30-weight at higher temperatures in the summer. Okay. So this is what they call a multi-grade oil, which has been used in every car for eons. But there's all these different grades. 520 became very popular around 2002 in newer cars. And many of these newer cars now today are taking 0W20, the one we just talked about, the full synthetic. You also have in your engine an oil filter. The older cars had a spin-on oil filter like this one. And the newer cars use a cartridge one like this, Drew. Okay. And basically this cartridge, this is the paper filter media that's inside that can. And the older cars use this one. This was fine, this worked really well, but a little bit more difficult to recycle. This one's easily recyclable because you don't have to cut off the can, you don't have the steel and the rubber.
And the great thing about coming into a place like Super Lube is, rather than trying to do this at home, when we empty the oil at home, we've got this dirty oil that we have to now take to a special place. We've got our filters that we can't discard. When we go to Super Lube, they're taking care of all that recycling, all that environmental friendliness that we need to worry about, right?
They recycle 100% of the lubricants that come out of your car, the filters, everything. Nothing goes into landfill or into waste. So, you're doing a great thing for the environment. And also if you're, I'm not trying to discourage the do-it-yourselfers, the real gearheads like myself are definitely going to do that. But if you're trying to do it to save money, you can drive into Super Lube and get a conventional oil change for $34.95 or a synthetic oil change for $59.95, and they take care of all that other mess for you.
And it takes no time at all for you just to drive in rather than doing it yourself.
It's really quick. They gang up on the car. There's a crew down in the pit doing the underside. There's people under the hood servicing underhood. They're checking tire pressure. They check the lights. They go top to bottom on the car in 10 minutes. And you know, you've got a well-serviced car for a great price, and you know all the bases have been covered.
Thanks a lot, Bill. Some great info on oil, but coming up a little later on, we're getting underneath the car. We're going to show you what Winnipeg roads are doing to our cars and what you can do about it. That's coming up later today on Breakfast Television.